In today's video, I'm going to show you how to close the interview by utilizing my system of asking 4 questions that will put you in the top 1% of job candidates. Before we get into the 4 questions, if you want to book a free 30-minute career consultation where we will map out a plan to get your ideal job faster and easier, click the link in the description. So let's get into it. Have you ever been in a situation where the interviewer asked, "Do you have any questions for me?" If you're applying for a corporate job, this is a standard boilerplate question that you should anticipate. And if you prepare correctly following my tips, will give you a competitive advantage versus other candidates. This is a tested system I developed for use as a candidate and is part of the reason that I received 4 competitive job offers the last time I was in the job market. I also know from the other side of the desk as a hiring manager that I have never been asked questions remotely like this and instead get generic questions like, what is the day in the role like? Or what type of benefits does the job offer? Don't be that candidate. Instead, I come prepared with 4 different questions that demonstrate your research abilities and highlight your interest in the role and company. The first question that you will want to ask to stand out from the crowded pack is a question specifically about the company's financial performance. Publicly traded corporations share quarterly earnings and financial reports with the public, and these can be easily found on the company's website. I want to give you an example. I've used this in an interview with a publicly traded consumer goods company. Here's the example. I saw that your company recently released its Q3 earnings and beat analyst expectations. Can you share whether you feel this trend is sustainable and what are potential headwinds that could get in the way of continued growth? This example not only demonstrates that you've done your research, but that you have an intellectual and professional curiosity about their business. It's also a really good way to get the hiring manager talking and hear their perspective on the health of the business. This is helpful because ultimately you're assessing whether you want to work for this employer. The second question to ask is related to anything newsworthy or in the headlines for this company. I prepare for this by doing a simple Google search of the company. Information for both public and private companies will show up and is a great source of writing your questions. Here's an example of this type of question. I read that your company recently hired a new CFO. What, if any, strategic changes or shifts do you anticipate occurring as a result of the hire? Again, this example shows that you've spent time trying to understand the company dynamic. And the bonus is that it also shows that you're interviewing them. After all, this is a mutual assessment and competitive candidates do this effectively. The third question is very important, not only to demonstrate that you're a top-tier candidate and that you've spent your time and done your research, but it also greatly benefits you. This question focuses on corporate culture. The way to do this is I spend time on the company's website evaluating what are their values, mission, and overall company environment. Most companies have this information readily available on their website, and it's easy to mine to get a feel for what it's like to work at the company. One example of a culture question I've asked in the past is, I see that there are some recent reviews on Glassdoor that show that there are some challenges with work-life balance at the company. What has been done to address this concern expressed by employees? This shows you've gone the extra step of not only looking at the company website, but also to external resources in your preparation. You have just differentiated yourself from 99% of other candidates in a very positive way. The last question I recommend that you ask is for closure and next steps. The way I ask this question is the following. Thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Hiring Manager, for your time today. I enjoyed our discussion and getting to know more about the role and company. What are next steps in the process, and may I have your email address in the event I have questions after the interview? This serves 2 purposes. It allows the hiring manager to share next steps, and oftentimes if they are interested in you, you'll get clues because they may ask if you're interviewing and how far you are along, and you also get their email address to send them a thank you note. I will have a whole video on thank you notes and follow-up. Look for it on my channel. If you found the information in this video helpful, please feel free to leave a comment below and make sure to hit the like and subscribe button in the description.